Alright guys, I hope you've had a nice Christmas. And now it's time to get on to another collection video. And today I'm going to be talking about the exclusive games that were sold in France and England. Of course, the GX4000 and Plus machines were sold also in Germany, Spain and Italy. But they had no exclusive games. So this is the reason why I'm covering these two. And my newest console, I don't normally get any new additions, but this was sent all the way to France for me, so thank you for that. And this is a French GX4000, and how do we know it's a French version? That's because of this mascot here. Now, Amstrad had a massive market share in France at the time, and it did very well. And actually, this is the reason why France had 5 exclusive games that were not even sold in the UK and a variant. And today I'm going to be covering those. So September, you ran into your retailer wanting to play some games on your new GX4000. And in September, we only had Fire and Forget. So that was not amazing, let's just say that. So anyway, as we carry on, all these games were released in every country, common as muck. These games were all had a cart duplication of over 20,000. That's the reason why these games are very common. Of course, when we get to the end of the GX4000 and the last few games and cartridges that were made, they were very limited and had very small production runs. Hence why it's very easy to get some games, and sometimes you'll be waiting years for other games to come out. The first exclusive game that come out in France was No Exit. Now, this game is universally hated. Some people say it's the worst game for the GX4000, but I've played it and it's certainly not. It's made by a small company and exclusive to France. I don't believe that the company that manufactured and produced this, I don't think they had any plans to get this out on any other countries distribution wise. I've played it and it does use some of the GX4000's enhanced features like hardware sprites, color palettes, but it's just the gameplay is not great, but certainly not the worst. I'm looking at games like Tintin on the Moon. So that was the first exclusive game that was sold only in French retailers. Of course, in February, we had this. Now, this is not exclusive, believe me. This is World of Sports, but this is a rare French variant. And it's exactly the same as the common game, the European variant, but the case is very, very different. And I've covered that video and covered this quite exclusively. If you want to check out that video, please do. But I truly believe that this was a blunder. So we had a blunder where these two ROMs, Trojan Products, who made these games, got the ROMs mixed up. So people on Christmas Day, thinking they were open Switchblade, ended up with No Exit. You could imagine these games coming back in droves after Christmas. And I think that this was a blunder as well. Trojan Products at the time were a pretty small company and they weren't doing Amstrad any favours. But this is a variant and a hard to get variant as well. So of course, most of these games all come out in all the countries that I've previously mentioned. And then we get to Tintin on the Moon. And this was basically the last game in Germany and Italy. And now from all the games you're going to see, they were mostly Spain, United Kingdom and France. So of course we come down here, all these games were released in these countries, and then we get to another exclusive, that is Mystical. Now again, I've covered this in an Oddity video, just like the World of Sports. I don't think this was manufactured and produced by Trojan Products. Amstrad were in dispute with them because they were making games very slowly and they were just crawling off the production line. But Mystical is a very, very rare game. If you're lucky, you may see it appear on eBay maybe once or twice a year. I've known it not pop up for 2 or 3 years. It is a good game though, but not much in the way of enhanced features, but that is a very challenging game to get. And again, that is an exclusive to France. We never had that United Kingdom. And now we get to the saddest point. This, Plotting, was released in September by Ocean, was the last game released in the United Kingdom. The market completely collapsed. That was because Comet and Dixon basically had a massive sell-off, and all the consoles were basically selling for £15, very, very cheap. A lot of people bought them at the time, but unfortunately, without any mainstream markets that were selling it, it was only independent sellers that were selling the console then. So game publishers weren't going to risk that. So this represents the last game released in the United Kingdom. Then we have another exclusive. This is the third exclusive. This is Super Pinball Magic by Lauracell. A lovely little game. I do enjoy it. It is also on the standard CPC, but this has quite a lot of exclusive features. Mostly the graphics as well had a big update. I do like it, but again, very rarely turns up on eBay, or you have to check for France to get this, but they just didn't have any distributor to sell in the United Kingdom. So again, that was another French exclusive. Then we get to October, and this is Panzer Kickboxing. Now this is a lovely game, and it looks very 16-bit, apart from very blocky graphics. Again, another exclusive. This was released in October. People in the United Kingdom must have been quite upset, especially knowing that a game like this we missed out on. And then we get the very last release in retail shops. That is Copter 271. Now this is another French exclusive and is a bugger to get hold of. Very rarely comes up on English eBay. You always got to check for overseas for this. To be honest, it's a game half finished. It does use a lot of plus features, but it just makes the game quite choppy. The graphics look fantastic on the back, very 16-bit. But a lovely game. So these are all the games that were released in France. 23 games in all, including the packing game, Burning Rubber. Next, we're going to cover the exclusive games that were sold in United Kingdom. Welcome back to the second part of my collection video. These are exclusives. And now this is looking a little bit sad. But of course, if you think this is sad, you should look up the games that were released just in Germany and Italy. Now we're back to a bog standard GX4000. No cool mascot, unfortunately. So these are the games that were released in the United Kingdom. And as you can see, these games are almost exactly the same as what was released in the other countries. We had September, Packing Game, Burning Rubber. Then we had September, Fire and Forget. And of course, you're looking at these thinking, I don't see anything different. And you're right. We had the common variant of World of Sports. Now, these are usually converted into homebrews because they are very common. A few years ago, someone found a load of these games in a container somewhere and they flooded eBay. And these cases cannot, at the moment, be replicated. So you normally just see them as bought cheaply as homebrews. But this is different to the French variant. Exactly the same game, but just a different case. And now we get to the really sad part. Whereas in France, they had all those lovely exclusives after Plotting. This was the last game that was released in the United Kingdom. And it is one of the rarest games for a GX4000. Ocean just basically sneaked it out in time before the Dixons and Comet big sell-offs. I think it's a fantastic game, to be honest. I go against my nephew and my brother, and the graphics are quite enhanced. Now we're going to get to what is the most interesting about United Kingdom, which is the third part. Welcome to the third and final part about my collection video. And France and English exclusive. So, of course, in the second part, there was only 18 games released in the United Kingdom. Pretty sad. And apart from one variant, there was no exclusives. 1990 and 91, the GX4000 was struggling. Nothing was released in 1992. And then we had this oddity, and it really is an oddity. Amstrad Action in 1993 advertised this, which was the Trojan Light Phaser. Now, this was supposed to come out in 1990. So where had it come from? We don't quite know. But as you can see by the title, this was released by Trojan Products. Now, these guys were responsible for making the GX4000 cartridges. So presumably they had these stored out in the back, the GX4000 flopped. They come across them again and they're like, we need to sell these. So this was exclusively sold to Trading Post, which was just a single shop. What you had is you had this lovely phaser gun, and anyone who's played it, it is brilliant. And it came with Skeet Shoot, which is a brilliant game. Really good. Good backgrounds, good music, fantastic and very addicting two-player mode. Obviously, you got to take your turns. And also, if you played your Trojan Light Gun and you got a bit bored of Skeet Shoot or you wanted something different, you could pay $14.99 and you could have the Enforcer. So all this was exclusive in just in the UK. And a real oddity happened. Not only were we blessed in 1993, well after GX4000 had sadly passed away, we had this very, very rare game, Chase HQ. Now, I only have the case and the manual. I don't own the cartridge, unfortunately. But this was advertised with mail order companies. In fact, all of this was mail order only. So if you were lucky enough to still have a fondness for the GX4000 in 1993, you could have had yourself a very rare bundle. Now, I don't think there was any more than 200 Trojan Light Phasers made. And in fact, this is one very, very rare package, and sometimes you could wait 5-6 years before you see a Trojan Light Phaser appear on eBay. It's very rare. And as an English exclusive, obviously the market in France are desperate for these, but I have so many offers that I've had that I've turned down for this. But this is our exclusives. Now, how well would these have sold if they were released when they were supposed to? I reckon they would have done very well. The Trojan Phaser is really good, and the two games that was made for it, the two cartridges, were really good. And as for Chase HQ2, obviously I've never played it. It's not supposed to be a very good game. It's just Spectrum port with plus pallets, but I still think these would have sold very well. So that is the exclusive games. France had 5 exclusive games and 1 variant. In the United Kingdom, we had 1 variant and these 3 games. But if you're hoping to catch these games and get a full set anytime soon, I've been collecting for over 10 years and I still need the cartridge for Chase HQ too. So you're going to have quite a mountain to try to get hold of those games. Anyway, I really appreciate that you've watched another video of mine. Thank you very much, and I'll catch you on the next video.